Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 199. Tassie Rules, Tasmania's footy show. We have got a very big show coming up tonight. Plenty of info to give you on what's happening around Tasmania, in particular, some milestone games that are happening. Very shortly, we're going to be joined by Zane Littlejohn, of course, very familiar face, successful coach here in Tassie. He is now the coach of the Box Hill Hawks into his third season in the VFL, and we will also be joined by the Premier. The Honourable Jeremy Rockcliffe will be here with us in the studio as well. But we begin with some pretty sad news that filtered through this morning. That is, Gary Davis has passed away this week. He's an absolute legend of football, Tasmanian Football Hall of Fame member, over 350 games with Devonport, East Devonport and Bridgenorth, 206 of those with Launceston. He was a best and fairest twice, a premiership player at Bridgenorth, and represented Tasmania on 4 occasions. Life member of Launceston and also in their team of the century. We extend our wishes, our best wishes and condolences to Gary's family and also friends and former teammates. That photo actually was an interview I did with Gary just very recently for Bridgenorth's centenary celebrations, and we're doing a history documentary. So, very sad news indeed. All right, we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we've got our first guest here on our 199th show.
For 30 years, DLM Machinery has kept Tasmania's construction industry moving. As the sole Tasmanian distributors of Cabelco, ASV Positrax and Merlot telehandlers, we offer trusted sales, parts and service with locations in Launceston and Hobart. From excavators to telehandlers, routine maintenance to field repairs, our skilled team has you covered wherever the job takes you. DLM Machinery. Local, reliable, ready when you need us. Get in touch today.
Well, welcome back. It's great to have your company on this Thursday night. Now, our first guest tonight, well, he's been a very good friend of our show over the journey from talking sport to Tasmania, now, of course, to Tassie Rules. Zane Littlejohn, well, he's certainly continuing to kick goals in his footy coaching career. A 2-time TSL Premiership player, of course, with his beloved North Launceston. His first coming at the age of just 28. Zane is now coaching the Box Hill Hawks in the VFL. And as you can see on your screen, they are flying. They are on top of the ladder. And it's a great pleasure to welcome him to the show. Zane, welcome. Nice to have you with us once again.
Thanks, Rick. Great to be back, mate. And you're going from stride to stride, mate, which is fantastic to see.
Thank you. And, the same could be said for you. You are doing very nicely there, of course, at the Box Hill Hawks. Third year now as coach. And as we mentioned, sitting on top of the VFL ladder, you're up. Tough game coming up this week against North Melbourne. And this is what I love about the VFL is also the fact that you get to play at some of these famous grounds. You're heading to Arden Street, I think, this weekend, which will be very nice.
Yeah, it is a great part of the VFL, and the fact that we get to play, obviously, on some of the regional VFL grounds, which they used to play on in the time. And back in the time, so which is really nice. It's another great challenge this week. They're a good football side in their VFL. They've been really playing some pretty good footy. They're 6th on the ladder, I think. So I think what you find in the VFL is every game is a challenge because
Yes.
With every game comes a different set of challenges. So one that we look forward to, and obviously after a week off, the boys are really eager, and the whole group's really eager to get back out there and play some footy.
You touched on that. Every week can be a little bit different. There's always challenges and I guess selection dilemmas as a coach. But interested to hear, Zane, as a VFL coach in particular, you've got a pretty unique situation from week to week where you have AFL players that you may need to slot in. They might be they might have been dropped, or this week, which is absolutely brilliant to see. Mitch Lewis is going to be making his comeback through the VFL. How tricky is that, having them fit into the game plan and style, but then also perhaps you might need to leave players out of Box Hill that don't actually warrant being dropped, but that must be a bit of a tough gig sometimes.
Yeah, there's no might to it, mate. The fact is I do have to. That's just the reality of the role and being a part of an alignment program. And for some players that they can't, it just doesn't suit them. That's why they go and play standalone programs. The alignment program takes a unique group of individuals to be a part of your VFL program, guys who continue to want to strive to be their best. And something we really pride ourselves on at Box Hill is, regardless of whether you're playing in the VFL team or not, the reality is we just want you to make sure you're getting better. So when you leave our program, whether you spend 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, you play 10 games, 20 games, 100 games, is that you're just getting better. So we try and make sure we put really great resources around our VFL group, from development coaches to obviously to our assistant coaches. And now we've got 3 full-time AFL staff involved in our VFL program for coaching purposes, which is fantastic for our VFL guys to get that exposure to AFL-like coaches to help them be better and improve. And the reality is, it's a great lesson I've learned as a coach. Obviously, being at North Lonnie, I control the decisions ultimately with my coaching group. But here, decisions like you mentioned are out of my control, really, in the fact that, but you're right, Mitch Lewis will return this week, which is fantastic for him. And it's great for the Hawthorn Footy Club, and we're really, really rapt to have him back. But ultimately, I've just got to be as open and honest with our VFL list. And we've got, for people who don't know, we have sort of a list of 30 to 32 players who work 9 to 5. They've got to come to training on Tuesday and Thursday nights and apply their trade to try and get a game each week. And ultimately, I've just got to be honest with those guys to let them know that this is the situation we're in. And the thing is, I want to make sure there's no surprises. So I'm really open in regards, look, guys, Mitch is returning in 2 weeks. This is what it's going to look like. And I think that's been a real success in our program. And ultimately, in life in general, people just want you to be honest. And if you can tell them the honest truth, which I like to think I'm an honest person, have great empathy, that, I was one of those players once when I played for Tassie. I played my first game, played really well, but we were aligned with North Melbourne and I got dropped the next week. And did I deserve to be? I'm not sure, but ultimately, because North Melbourne players came back in, someone had to go out and it had to be my turn. So I've got a bit of empathy and understanding, I guess, where they sit, and hopefully they can understand where I'm coming from.
Indeed. Now, it's been 10 years since you coached your last TSL premiership. I remember calling that game with Michael Baindy. It was a cracker too against Glenorchy down there at Bellerive. Now, the TSL has obviously been disbanded. We've gone back to the regional competitions. So with Tassie at this stage expected to join the VFL in 2026, all going well, you could be facing them in the home and away season. I mean, how special would that be?
Yeah, I think it's the sooner the better, I think, for Tassie to get their footprint and their fingerprints all back over state leagues, senior footy, I guess, in my eyes. So whether that be VFL footy or not, I think the sooner they can get that happening and going, the better. Look, will it be easy early days? No, I sit back and I actually sometimes wonder, like, how would Tassie compete against our team today that we're rolling out for Box Hill? And naturally it will be challenging for them, and that's just no one's fault. It's just a reality of how football sort of the dare I say the swings and roundabouts of footy at this current stage in Tassie. So look, yeah, it'll be exciting once it happens, but ultimately, as long as they don't play too well against Box Hill when I'm coaching them, and but ultimately, look, it'd be really exciting to see the map, dare I say, back on state league footy regularly. I know the Devils they had a really successful era when they were back in the VFL, and a lot of the people still now around the VFL circles, like Andy Collins, who is one of my assistants, obviously at Box Hill, and the development coach at Hawthorn. He still talks about the times he coached against Tassie and the players, and we quite often reminisce about the players who ran out for Tassie in that team. So hopefully it's not too far down the track that other people are talking about the current list of Tassie players running out.
Indeed. Now, sticking with North Launceston, we're going to pop up a photo of Jack Event, yourself, and Taylor Whitford. You were part of a great era, Zane, and so many talented players that you had a big impact on as a coach. But you must be very proud of another fellow coach in the VFL, of course, at Casey Deemers, Taylor Whitford. He's really taken to coaching and doing very well. You must be extremely proud. Maybe not so when you face them.
Rat for him. We're 1-1 at the moment. We play the last game of the year this year. The last round of the year is Box Hill v Casey. So we're 1-1. So, one of us is going to go ahead in the ledger this year, which would be exciting. But no, I'm rat for him. He's done so well. And what a lot of people don't realise is I was very lucky when I got my opportunity at Brisbane. I moved away for full-time work straight away with the Lions, and then got an opportunity to come down here full-time. When Taylor left Tassie, he left not with a full-time job. So he's packed up his Amy and 2 girls to come over to Victoria to chase a dream in coaching. And for his first sort of 12 months, he was a part-time coach with Casey, coaching their midfield, working, teaching still, and just had to stick fat and got rewarded in the end with a full-time job at Melbourne and Casey. And I'm really proud of him. And he's a really close friend of mine. And it's funny you say they had the bye last week as well. And we actually went for a hit of golf. And we talk about those times at North Lonnie. And we had a reunion last year, obviously, to our 214, and we're sort of in the midst of planning another one for 215 this year. So, look, really proud of him, and I think he's got a long future in coaching. He's got a great eye for the game and a great temperament, although we used to call him grumpy when he used to play. He didn't smile a real lot, so we still stir him up about that. But no, he's got a great temperament for coaching, a great eye for talent and seeing the game. So I think he's got a great future. And as you mentioned, I'm really proud of him and a lot of the other boys who have gone on. And, Jake Pearce is coaching, and Josh Ponty's had his turn at coaching. Brad Cox-Goodyear's had his turn at coaching. There's a lot of players. I'm sure I've missed a few there who have gone on to do some coaching, which is Alan O'Sine, obviously, as well. So the fact that our guys can give back now and who are part of that sort of early period of North Lonnie, and there's still obviously a few of them playing, like you mentioned, Jack. So, really proud of that whole group and just really proud to be a part of such a great footy club.
Absolutely. Well, Josh Ponting, I saw yesterday, 52 possessions for Rachel Lee last weekend, Zane, so he's still doing pretty well. Great fella too. But it is just finally a big game, of course, for the Hawks coming up down here in Launceston at your old stomping ground. They're taking on North Melbourne, who had that great win over Carlton last week. So this is not going to be a straightforward game. But for our viewers out there, 2:30, everything gets underway. Kids go free. Extraordinary record, 63 wins from 84 matches. That's bang on 75% for the Hawks. Kids, as I mentioned, go free. There's a good old-fashioned meat tray raffle happening as well, a potato sack race on the field. How'd you go in that one, Zane, in the old potato sack? You did that back at school in the day?
Yeah, in the day, that was one of the events. So
egg and spoon race, then it probably can't bring that back on the ground, I guess, but we don't want shells on there. But should be great. But first day of the school holidays as well, and the main game gets underway at 4:15. And open training, the Hawks will be at UTAS from 2 till 3 tomorrow afternoon, and also the Clifford Craig Foundation doing a big fundraising effort. Zane, we are fast out of time. It's been terrific to catch up with you, and we look forward to seeing you down here. And who knows what's going to happen in the future once Tassie get going. But I know we're very proud here at the show for what you've done, obviously in Tasmanian footy. You are a proud Tasmanian, of course, making the move with your young family up to Brisbane and doing great things at Box Hill. So well done to you. Good luck on the weekend at Arden Street, and thanks for your support of our footy show as well. It's always great to catch up.
Thanks very much. Always a pleasure, and you're doing great things, mate. Always, and hopefully I'm really confident the Hawks will get a really good result this weekend against, like you mentioned, against a Kangaroos team who's in some good form.
They are. They're getting better. Zane, great to catch up with you. All the best.
Thank you.
Zane Littlejohn joining us, who's the head coach of the Box Hill Hawks in the VFL. Quick break. Back in just a moment.
For 30 years, DLM Machinery has kept Tasmania's construction industry moving. As the sole Tasmanian distributors of Kobelco, ASV Positrax and Merlot telehandlers, we offer trusted sales, parts and service with locations in Launceston and Hobart. From excavators to telehandlers, routine maintenance to field repairs, our skilled team has you covered wherever the job takes you. DLM Machinery. Local, reliable, ready when you need us. Get in touch today.
Great to have your company on episode 199 of Tassie Rules, Tassie's Footy Show. Well, our next guest, he's been a club president. He's very passionate about community football, which is what our show is all about. Got a lot on his plate at the moment, but we are very, very grateful to have him here with us in the studio today. It is the Premier, the Honourable Jeremy Rockcliffe MP. Lovely to see you. Thanks for coming in.
It's fantastic to be here, Rick. Congratulations on almost the double century.
Almost the double century, indeed. No, it's been a long journey, but an exciting one. It's sort of footy weather today too, isn't it? It is pretty chilly up here in the north.
Well, the great thing about a frost is you get the beautiful clear blue skies afterwards. So, yeah, great footy weather.
Absolutely. We might start with your journey in football. You been a president of the Latrobe Football Club. I know we're going to bring up a couple of pics. We were down there doing a documentary on their history late last year. It is a magnificent ground. Daryl Baldock here pictured with one of the four-time premiership coach at Latrobe. Extraordinary that he was only 19 years of age when he was appointed senior coach of men and Wayne and Brett Jaffray and also Brett Smith, some legends of that football club.
Absolutely.
But tell us about your affiliation and how important footy's been in your journey.
Well, to where we are right now, Latrobe gave me that great grounding of appreciating what community football is all about. And I remember in around 2005 or 6, a lot of the former players and a few of the committee members asked me to be president of the club. It was had some challenges at that particular time. And I said to them, how do you feel about a Liberal president? And it's a pretty Labor town, it has traditionally been. And they said, we don't worry about that. We just want, your leadership and see how you can support us. And I learnt so much. And I got an appreciation of the value of the committee, the volunteers, how they support the players. At that time, there was mainly only male players, obviously, and now it's very, very different, which is great. But just that, I call it a wraparound service for our young people is what I learned there, and the value and how excited the local town can be when the footy club's going well, and how passionate they can be when they can do better.
Oh yeah, we met Zilla Jones. She's 99 years of age, and I think the oldest surviving life member of that football club. She's an absolute treasure of the town, but she lets you know exactly from week to week how things are going at the footy club.
Absolutely, and there are great volunteers that should be celebrated every day. And look, not just Latrobe, and Latrobe has a wonderful history. I mean, that history room at Latrobe is probably the best I've seen. It's fantastic, and great life members. And I remember one of the best moments of my time as president, and it was for 3 years, was presenting a life membership to a chap that had been bypassed or not really thought about for life membership, and despite his volunteerism for decades, and it was Malcolm Jackson, the chap was, and he's a terrific chap, and I remember reading out the citation about this person. I was trying to get to the end about revealing who it was, and I was looking at him, and I could see him thinking, hold on, this could be me, and as it came to the point where I announced his life membership, of which there was rapturous applause because he was such a valued member of the club and volunteer. I still get really emotional about it now. In fact, I was talking about it in Parliament the other day, and it brought tears to my eyes because I just realised how much community football and volunteers and how passionate people are. Other sporting clubs are the same, but there is something about footy, and for me, something about the Latrobe Footy Club that I'll never forget. I always learnt that very clearly. I was president for 3 years between 2006 and 2009, and Mayor of Latrobe, Peter Freshney, and we became good mates over that time because we, wanted to do the best we could for the club, and we learned a lot about the club and each other. Anyway, Fresh got the joy of the premiership in 2010. So
you started it. You got them going.
He was wonderful president as well, of course.
And indeed, it's a great segue about how passionate and communities are with football, which brings us to the stadium. We're obviously at a very delicate situation at the moment, but in terms of infrastructure, we know the economic and social benefits that this stadium will bring. And I know I've heard from so many people about what it's done to Geelong. The Adelaide Oval, we think, people have said, you reckon they're protesting in Tassie. The protests about the Adelaide Oval redevelopment were enormous. They've well over 1,000 events per year there. What can you tell Tasmanians about what the stadium will bring? It's not infrastructure that is just going to service Tasmanians. It's going to actually provide so much revenue once we have this stadium built, not just in the footy space.
Look, it's a huge economic enabler. It's really just investing in infrastructure, in this case, a building in an area that hasn't been developed ever to something that's going to be quite special, bringing with it a lot of that private investment as well. And having recently toured the Adelaide Oval with the president of the Crows, John Olsen, more recently, and learning more about that controversy at the time. I mean, people talk about the battle we're going through at the moment, but Adelaide was I think, more than that even. And what that's brought to the city. And we can do exactly the same, not just to southern Tasmania, but that will spread right through, of course. And what people don't, I think, appreciate is that we have asked the AFL for a team, our own Tassie team, for decades. And they've said no, shut the door in our face. So that's why we struck the deal for the stadium and the AFL's $360 million investment in football in Tasmania, which people, those opposed to the stadium and the footy team don't appreciate or tend to forget about. As a result of the deal we've struck with the AFL, it's going to bring in some $660 million just directly from the AFL and, of course, the federal government as well as the state government. And, Prime Minister Albanese and myself, we were celebrating together $130 million, a partnership to upgrade York Park just down the road from here. And so, the stadium is part of the deal. And it's part of the deal because players and all associated with AFL in the modern game demand the best of facilities. And moving on from that, that's footy, let alone the concerts, the entertainment, the conventions, the investment in hospitality. It will bring supporting events like Dark Mofo. It is an absolute no-brainer in my view. It's been difficult to, explain all the benefits, and I understand the reasons for that. But, for the investment we're making in this stadium, we invest in health every 38 days. So that gives it some context. We'll invest once and it'll bring all that opportunity.
How would you respond to those that are in favour of a team but not the stadium? Why don't you renegotiate with the AFL? We hear that from a lot of people. What's your response to that?
Well, a bit like my previous answer, where the AFL shut the door in our face and they disrespected us, in all honesty, for decades. Here we were producing the legends of the game. A large number of AFL, VFL Hall of Famers are Tasmanian, and we were disrespected, in my view. But asking wasn't enough. We had to also put some skin in the game. And the skin in the game is the High Performance Centre. The skin in the game is investing in York Park. The skin in the game is obviously the stadium as well. And that was where the deal was struck to ensure, and all the reports point to this. Go back to the Carter report in around 2019, a roof stadium, a team based in southern Tasmania. And it was both Gil McLachlan and myself. We agreed on this particular matter very passionately. We cannot let a team set up a team to fail. We must have a team that succeeds, not just for 5 years, but, we want a Carlton, a Collingwood and a Hawthorn just celebrating their century just the other day, for example. I mean, this is a team that needs to be around for generations, and we need to set it up for that success. And that means investing in the team, but also the training facilities, the sports academies, local footy as well, but also that quality infrastructure that supports the modern game.
Indeed. And look, we put some asked our viewers to send us in some questions, and hopefully, Premier, you don't mind. I've got a couple that I'd like to share.
Sure. A bit like question time, Rick.
Yes. This is from Alan, one of our viewers. How will those that oppose the stadium, how will they live with themselves when they destroy every Tassie Auskick kid's dream of playing for the Devils if they are against the stadium? As we all know the rule, no stadium, no team. Our Auskick numbers are up enormously right around the state. In no coincidence to the fact that we're all living on that dream at the moment.
Well, we are living the dream, and this is not a dream that's going to be realised when the team starts playing in 2028 or the stadium gets completed a year after or whatever the time might be. This is happening right now, and Auskick numbers are up 40%. So we've got young kids, boys and girls, putting down their mobile phones and picking up a footy. That is fantastic. I understand the Glenorchy is something like 128% increase in junior participation. That's extraordinary. And so this is happening now. And I tried to talk about this the other day in Parliament and saying, do you really want to, for political purposes? And, we're in the midst of an election now, and, people have got a platform of, well, no stadium. But that is saying no to these young kids and their aspirations and their dreams. And so the question is well crafted from Alan, because he understands that we need to give our kids hope and aspiration and opportunity, whether that be on the footy field or other sporting codes, whatever it might be. And here is a huge opportunity that is working now. And, no stadium and no team. AFL is a very big business and it's billions of dollars. And the biggest regret that I believe the people that are for political purposes only fighting against this stadium, the regret that they would feel if the AFL said, see you later, Tassie, we'll go to Darwin and we'll set up a Northern Territory team and they'll embrace us for the same reasons as I've been arguing. It's about the young people. And that will be a devastating moment. But my view is we won't get to that moment because we're going to get this job done.
Very good. Last one on the stadium, Premier, from Janine. Why isn't there a separate question to answer about it at election time? That would conclusively show the will of Tasmanians and why would the government stand by that decision?
Well, by that rationale, I guess you'd ask the question, well, there are tough decisions that governments have to make, and governments are elected to make difficult decisions that some might not always agree with. And so we can't go back and have referendums, if you like, every single time there's a tough decision. Otherwise, nothing will get done. But this has been the most scrutinised project in living memory. I can't think of another one that's had so many parliamentary scrutiny and community discussion and all those types of things. And so it's about ensuring that we're consulting, but also clearly explaining the benefits of stadium infrastructure, a footy team for our young people, our economy, which will be huge. I mean, this is an industry that we're setting up in Tasmania, bringing hundreds and hundreds of jobs. If you said, here's an industry that we're going to set up, like a factory, and bring hundreds and hundreds of jobs and generate hundreds of millions of dollars a year, you'd be embracing it. And that's the conversation we need to have with the Tasmanian community.
It is indeed. And look, we've got many Tasmanians already excelling in the AFL, AFLW, VFL, VFLW. One of those, Zane Littlejohn, was on the show a little earlier, now coaching Box Hill Hawks in the VFL, who are on top of the ladder from being a TSL coach and a former Tassie Mariner. How excited are you at the prospect potentially that of a number of these players, these coaches, career coaches, may be coming back, but also the fact that when we get up and running, the young boys and girls, young women, young men that are playing football, that they don't need to leave our state.
That's exactly right. And, previously, and no doubt now, it's a barrier to some young people. And so to, get rid of that barrier to say that they can have the elite game and play elite sport and AFL here in Tasmania is fantastic and reduces that barrier. And look, that's fantastic. Zane's done so well. I think I remember him around Latrobe Footy Club days. He'd have been a young tacker, I'll call him, back in those days. But isn't it great that he's still with the game in a different role now? And wouldn't it be fantastic to see someone like Zane come back and, of course, make a huge contribution to our own Tassie Devils?
And I think always a risk that I've noticed across all sports is that you risk losing them to the sport if you don't have that top level here in the state. And we've seen, obviously, with basketball, how many are now playing that sport. So it's great to see. Premier, you're looking very fresh. You're obviously looking after yourself during this election campaign as well. So But
Well, yes, on the road a bit, and there's a bit of consumption of certain takeaway varieties, but we won't get into that, Rick. But but thank you for that. It's been, it's it's not where I'd like to be in a campaign. This was forced on us, but the benefit of campaigns is you are out and about, talking with people, listening, learning, and appreciating what a great state this is.
it is indeed. It is footy season, and we're going to have some finality coming up. We're nearly at the grand final stage, so let's wait and see what happens. But Premier, we really appreciate you coming in the middle of an election campaign to join us here on Tassie Rules, Tasmania's Footy Show. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure, Rick, and great job to you, and thanks to viewers for listening to almost 200 of your fine work. Well done.
Good on you. Thank you very much. It's Premier Jeremy Rockcliffe joining us here on Tassie Rules. We are going to take a quick break. We've got a stack of news to update you with when we return as well, and we look forward to it. Stick with us here on Tassie Rules, Tasmania's Footy Show. Back in a moment.
HST Tree Specialists. We are the industry leaders in vegetation management in Tasmania. Our services include tree solutions, hazardous vegetation removal, and project consultations. We are committed to eliminating vegetation-based risk in Tasmania while being sensitive to environmental impact, with a strong focus on health and safety practices. And from large-scale government and commercial projects, small private arboriculture jobs, and equipment hire, MyTas recommends HST.
Great to have your company once again. And now we've just got some news from what's happening right around Tasmania in football. Firstly, a big day coming up at the NTCA ground this Saturday. Old Scotch are taking on Rochalee, and it is a significant day because Scotch are going to be honouring an ex-player, Lucas Butson. Now, Lucas tragically died in a car accident 19 years ago. He was only 24, travelling back from work to play for his beloved club. Now, Lucas was a former club best and fairest at Old Scotch, senior captain, reserves coach, and also Players MVP award is named now in his honour. A number of Lucas's family are going to be in attendance, including his daughter. So please, if you can, get along and support what will be a very special day. Now, some milestones at Scottsdale this week. It is game 150 to Elliot Tyson, who will be lining up for the Magpies this weekend. They are taking on North Launceston up at Scottsdale. So very, very tough task for the Magpies, but a great effort there from Elliot. Also, speaking of milestones, how about this? Game number 300, his 300th club game. Chris Heavey will be lining up for OHA this Saturday when they take on University. So well done to Chris, and what a great servant for his beloved club in OHA. And speaking of congratulations as well, Melinda Green, got to take our hat off to her. Last weekend, she kicked her 200th SFLW goal. Now, this was for Claremont in their win over University, and recognised by her club, as she should, for a fantastic achievement in women's football. So well done to Melinda. St Pat's and Hillwood, they are going to meet in the NTFA Division 1 this weekend. Now, pretty significant. This is actually going to be the first time that they have ever played each other. They'll be playing for the House McLean Shield. Now, you can see on your screen there at the moment, that's Kay McLean. Now, she very sadly passed away recently. 70 years of service she gave to the Hillwood Sharks. And Andrew House, who we'll see next, is pretty much epitomises what he was like. He was a true character of the St Pat's Football Club. He was a premiership player, a life member, a captain, and 40 years of service. Also, very sadly, passed away. So both the House and McLean families are going to be playing huge roles and have done for their respective clubs. So the game times, 10:20 a.m. for the reserves. The senior men will actually be at 12:15. So a non-traditional starting time there. The presentation of the House McLean Shield and Best on Ground medal will be at 3 p.m. and the women's match will be at 2:30. So the game time's been adjusted just to allow patrons who wish to be able to head to the Hawthorn North Melbourne AFL game down the road at UTAS Stadium. Now, as we mentioned, next week is going to be our 200th show. So make sure you join us. It is going to be a very special celebration. We will also be joined by Tasmania Football Club CEO Brendan Gale on the show. So plenty to look forward to. make sure you send in, as always, your club news, any stories that you want to get across. We want to hear from you, and we will put it to air on our show. Thanks very much for your company. It's been a big one. We look forward to seeing you next Thursday here on Tassie Rules, Tasmania's footy show, with thanks to DLM Machinery.